Hey everybody, Iskamaha here with Iskamaha Studios. Today we're doing another video with gear review. So today I got a couple of different things happening. I have a Tascam Model 16 mixer slash interface. I'm going to kind of show you that and go over it a little bit. And then I have some examples of some audio, specifically some vocals that I recorded into the Tascam with different microphones to kind of show you what the preamps sound like. So we're going to go over that here in just a moment, so stay tuned with me here. All right, everybody, this is the Tascam Model 16. So this is a analog mixer as well as a audio interface. So it has a USB connection on the back. You can go directly from here onto the computer and record onto any DAW of your choice. So this works just like any other mixer, right? You have all of your faders, you have all your channels, and you can multi-track record into something, or you could record one thing at a time. How I have it set up is I got the stereo outs going into my 2-channel interface. And so what that means is that you do it's not recording every single channel individually into the software. What I'm doing is basically, because my interface is only 2 inputs, I can only record 2 signals into the computer. So I'm recording the main outs. So whatever mix I do on the board, let's just say I have multiple things, plugged into the board here, and I'm doing a mix, right? So now, right, if I was to record, all of these are feeding into this master main out. That's what's being recorded into one stereo channel into Studio One. So basically you have to do your mix before, and you have to have everything sounding the way that you want it before you even hit record, because you can't adjust it later, which is kind of the downside of doing it how I'm doing it, but that's just one way to do it. So there's multiple ways to do everything in the recording world. So let's kind of dive into this console a little bit here. So just like every other console, right, up at the top you have your XLR input for your microphone, and you have your line slash input, or instrument, sorry. And the first two are the only ones that can really accept the instrument. All the rest of these are lines. But basically what this means is that this can detect, okay, line level signal from any other piece of gear, or you can put an instrument in and hit this instrument button right here to tell it, hey, I want you to read that it's an instrument. Then you have your insert channels. That's for like if you're using like outboard compressors or EQs or any sort of dynamic or non-dynamic processing that you want to use that's outboard with this mixer. You can plug it in right here. Then you have your gain knob to adjust your level of your microphone or whatever the signal is that's coming in here. Okay. Then you have your low cut right there. That's telling you 100 hertz, right? So this is like a low, so this is kind of cut off signal, or cut off frequencies, I should say, to the channel. Then you have your mode switch here. You can do live, PC, or MTR. Live is regular analog live. PC is when you're in interface mode. And then MTR is when you want to do, what the cool thing about this mixer is that on top of being an interface and a mixer, what you can do is you can put in an SD card right here and record into the mixer itself without even having to hook up to a computer, which is pretty cool. So if you take this to a live concert, right, and you're like mixing a live show and the band wants you to record it, you just throw an SD card in here, you do your mix on the board, right, boom, 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 you do your mix, right, and the band's like, yeah, that sounds awesome, record it. You come up here and you just hit that record button, and you record it, and it records into the board. And then later, what you do is you just take the SD card out, put it in your computer, and then you're good to go. And then you can mix later on. Put it in Studio One or whatever DAW that you have, and you can mix later. So that's a really cool feature of this console as well. So then moving on. So this green knob here is your compressor. This isn't like a traditional compressor. This is one of those ones that's kind of like I call it the one-off compressor. You don't have any parameter controls like threshold, ratio, attack, release. You basically just turn it on. The little light will come on and say, hey, yep, we're getting compression. And then you kind of just adjust based off how things sound, how much compression that you want. So that's kind of a neat little thing. You know, some people use it, some people don't. I use it occasionally depending on what you're doing. And then, of course, you know, you got your standard EQ where you have your different frequencies and you can attenuate or add. And then you have your aux channels, monitor 1, monitor 2. These are for like if you want to send a mix to a headphone for somebody. So you'd send it over here to the sub channel and then have this routed to sub, right? And this is saying, okay, I want to listen to whatever's going through channel 1 into the headphones for somebody, then you can definitely do that. Then you have your effects knob here. This console has all these onboard effects right here, which is pretty cool. Bunch of different reverbs and delays and things like that. And you can actually, there's a fader here that controls like how much of that signal you want to go to this channel. But this knob is basically saying, yes, I want effects. And it's sort of like a gain knob where this is also an adjustment on top of the fader. One controls like the wet, one controls the dry signal. So that's pretty cool there. And then you have your pan knob, you know, left, center, right, kind of a situation there. So you can pan things out. This is a record button, so you would hit that to basically record arm this track when you're using an interface mode or MTR, the multi-track record mode for the SD card. So you'd hit that. And then it's got the standard mute button, like every other console. Then, of course, the fader. Then you have your buttons here to tell where you want the signal routed, right? So you have your main, that's telling, hey, I want this to go all the way over here to this main fader. And then you have your sub, right? That's telling this signal, okay, we're gonna go to the subgroup over here if you're doing like a separate mix for somebody. And then you have your PFL, which is the pre-fader listen. That's listening to everything that's happening before it even gets to this fader. That's what that switch means. Okay, so that's kind of, everything is kind of identical going this way. The only difference is you do have some stereo channels over here, 9 and 10 and 11 and 12, right? And that just gives you the aux left and rights, or sorry, the 1/4 inch left and rights up there. But everything else is kind of standard, except you don't have compression for these channels, right? But everything down here is the same. What's cool is this has like what we call the super channel, or what they call the super channel 13 and 14, because it has Bluetooth and there's all this other extra added things to it. Like up here you have your left and right RCA connections if you're trying to, you know, go old school and run like a, you know, PC computer through this, or you know, something that takes RCA cables. You can run it through right there. And then you have your standard 3.5 or 1/8 inch jack headphone aux right there, which is pretty interesting. Same thing, you can switch the different modes. This also has Bluetooth. I have not used the Bluetooth yet, but it's a pretty cool feature that you can have with this. And of course, you know, you can send that to aux channels for somebody if they want to hear a certain thing. And then these, actually, the stereos, actually, just these two on the end, yeah. So all of the stereo channels have the pan balance knob. So the difference between the pan and the difference between the balance knob, right, is like the pan is to change that mono signal to go left, center, or right. The balance is telling the entire stereo signal, the stereo image, to go left or right, because these are stereo channels. When you balance, right, that's shifting everything to that side, versus these, since there's only a mono signal coming through, it kind of does the same thing, where it's similar, where it shifts kind of that signal left or right, but it's not shifting it technically. It's more of just like making one side louder than the other side is kind of what the pan does, which is interesting. But then you have, like I said, you have your effects here. This, I believe, is to control the Bluetooth. I'm not too sure. I don't really ever mess with this one. I'm not too sure what that is. Then you have your sub mix there, and then you have your master fader there. And then you have, your foot switch for different applications. You have your aux outs, stuff like that. Your control room for like speakers. You have your master EQ section if you want to do that. And then this board has global phantom power. So you would hit that, and that sends phantom power to all of these different channels. The downside of global phantom power, where every single channel, is you got to be really careful if you're using like passive ribbon microphones, because you can really destroy the microphone if you run 48 volts through it. So that's one thing that you got to be careful. So that's basically the console there. There's one other piece of gear that I want to show you. Oh, just to show you. So these are your left and right main outputs, and how I'm utilizing it is I am putting the two outs into my audio interface that has the two channels and recording into Studio One. And what that means is that with this has the capability of, like I said, doing the mix there, and it's recording just the stereo channel into that. I think we actually talked about that earlier, so I'm going to kind of leave it at that. But one of the other pieces of gear that I wanted to talk about is I have this this thing right here, which is kind of that vocal isolation, kind of mimics a vocal booth, if you will, but it kind of adds some absorption. So you put a microphone right here, and you would sing into it, and it basically helps, with the slapback of signals bouncing off the wall, and instead it kind of gets absorbed here. So it's just one of those cool little things that I ended up picking up. So yeah, stay tuned. We're gonna get on Studio One. I'm gonna show you the examples of the microphones. All right, guys, so that was the console there. Now I'm gonna hop on Studio One and kind of show you. I got the 3 different microphones that I'm gonna be running through there, and I have some signal recorded into Studio One, and I'm just gonna kind of show you, bounce back and forth between them, and kind of show you the difference of how they sound going through the preamps of this console. So stay tuned with me. So there's a couple of different microphones that I used to record into the Tascam. One of them is this SE Electronics X1A large diaphragm condenser microphone. I actually just picked this up for a pretty decent price. These run about $100. I got it at a little bit of a discount. But basically this is, it's a cardioid pattern. So it has like pretty much a lot of rejection on the back. But basically you have your pads, so you can kind of cut 20 dB off the signal if you want to. And then it looks like almost a shelf. So you have like your flat response, and then you can kind of attenuate some of the low end off if you want to, is what that is. But this microphone is actually really good for the price point. This thing kicks butt for only being around $100. Like it really is a solid piece of gear. Like I recommend this. Like if you're starting to record and you don't know what microphone to get for vocals or anything, this is a good start, honestly. I mean, this thing is, like I said, not even $100, and it does a fantastic job. Really, really does. What's funny about this is actually on the box, it says something kind of funny. It says this could be your first mic, but you'll never want to replace it. And I kind of agree with that. It's one of those things where it's like, man, for the price point, this thing kicks butt, dude.
If you've got I'll kick it.
And it's an excellent microphone. So that is one of the examples that I recorded. Actually, the first thing that we'll show you is me talking through this microphone on there. The other microphone that we're going to talk about is the Shure RS230. This is very similar to the SM58 model microphone. This actually does have like an on and off switch here that you can shut off the signal. This is a super durable microphone. The joke about the joke in the audio world with Shure microphones is that you could literally stand on like top of a building and drop this or run this over with a car, pick it up, sing through it, and it works perfectly fine. I've seen these microphones have like huge dents in them all over the place, and they work perfectly fine. That's just the thing about Shure microphones, is that they were literally like, they're built to last. You know, it's like, it's pretty amazing what they go through to make these microphones, and the quality that they use to make these microphones. Excellent. But you know, for a standard vocal microphone, excellent. You can use this in live, you can use this in studio. This can pick up snare drums, this can pick up guitars. Excellent. This is a very versatile microphone. Again, super cheap. This one's probably like 50, 60 bucks. And for that price point, like, good microphone. In fact, like, this is what I'm going to be recording this video when I show you the Studio One stuff. I'm going to be talking through this microphone, but you'll see an example of going through the console here with this microphone. But this is kind of my go-to podcasting microphone now. So it really, really good. And then microphone number 3, you guys already kind of know, we have talked about this not too long ago in one of the other videos, but this is the PreSonus M7 that I've had for like 7 years or so, the super cardioid pattern with the large diaphragm condenser. Again, another really cheap, good microphone, good bang for your buck. So this is the other one that I'm going to be showing you guys through the console. So stay tuned with me here. I'm about to get on and show you guys the Studio One session. See ya. Peace. Pulled up here with Studio One. So this is the example of those 3 microphones that I showed you going through that Tascam. And you'll kind of hear the difference of the preamps in the Tascam versus preamps on like my interface, for example. Because right now I'm running this through the Dynamite stick that we had talked about in one of the previous videos. And I really had to get that, you know, you really had to crank the gain in order for you to really be able to hear that microphone. But now, you know, with the Dynastick, obviously, you know, you can hear my vocals pretty well with this. But the benefit of having that mixer is that we really didn't need any other like help boosting the signal, because the preamps are already so good quality on the console itself that you didn't really need any help to boost that. But anyway, so we're going to go through these. And I'm not going to play the entire clip. I was just kind of messing around with that. I'm going to give you like a good little 5-second representation of each one of these, and you'll kind of see them. So starting off with the SEX1A. So this is a test of the SEX1A studio condenser microphone. Gain is turned about 2 o'clock. Yeah, so with that, you know, like I said, you know, the gain was turned, you know, slightly, just right at the 2 o'clock position. And we were still getting really good gain. If this was the interface, that thing would be smashed all the way up. So, but again, I mean, that microphone is really good, even through anything. I haven't tried it through the interface yet. I'm going to try it through the interface to see how it sounds with that. But I'm not going to make a video about that. I'm just going to mess around with it. Unless you guys want me to do a video on that, then I will. But that's a good interpretation of that microphone. So now we're going to move on to the next one, which is the Shure RS230, which is this guy right here, going through the Tascam. Now this is the Shure RS230 microphone running through the Tascam Model 16. Yeah, so you can kind of see the quality there. Pretty decent. Not bad at all. So good microphone, good bang for your buck, honestly. All right, and then the last but not least, PreSonus M7, the one that we have talked about many times. One of my favorite microphones that I do own, to be honest, because I've had it for so long and it's just so good. But here's that going through the Tascam as well. This is the PreSonus M7 large diaphragm condenser microphone, super cardioid polar pattern. Also running through the Tascam Model 16. Yeah, so those are some good representations of the quality of the Tascam. To rate the Tascam, I would give it a good solid 8.5 out of 10. With this SEX1 microphone, a 10 out of 10. Microphone 10 out of 10. The mixer 8.5 out of 10. All right, so that's it for this one here. If there's ever any gear that you guys want me to check out, put it in the comments below. I really do appreciate you guys' support that you've been given with this channel. Stay tuned for my other channel that I'm going to be releasing, the Iska Reacts channel. If you want me to react to any videos, put those in the comments as well. If you have not already, do a like, subscribe, share for me. Spread the word about what I'm doing, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.